Hi everyone, I'm Carrie Perry.
And I'm Flora Pastorero, and this is Chick to Chick.
So today we're going to talk about something that for me I've noticed a big difference in, because I have 5 children who have gone through all these different stages of what I figure is, a rite of passage. Everyone should experience middle school. Middle school's crazy. I mean, they write books about the insanity of middle school.
I don't want to redo.
Just for a little bit today, you're coming back.
Okay. I'm going to get in that headspace.
Yeah. So I actually, when I was on social media, there was an article that came out, and I was drawn to it because it talked about 10 years ago what it was like to be in middle school till now. Now, I have older stepdaughters who have been through middle school. That's one chunk. Then I have our other daughters who are now in college. So that's the other chunk. And now I have a middle schooler right smack in the middle of it, of 7th grade. So today what we're talking about is middle school, almost like the middle school blues. And I find that kids today are really struggling, and I think that a lot of it has to do with social media, the way that others perceive them and they perceive themselves. And I think education's getting muddy in the classroom because of it. They can't really focus.
Well, I think there's a problem, and I'm coming from it at a different perspective because I have a boy, and I think you're dealing with issues that I never dealt with.
Probably.
I think things are a little bit different, but they are same in one respect. When you talk about not just social media, but these electronic devices, every single thing that happens is now recorded. So when we were in middle school and something happened and you were embarrassed by it, you're like, oh, you're embarrassed by it, but then you forget about it 2 or 3 days later or a week later, it's forgotten and you move on.
Right.
Now you can't forget because everybody has their phone in their hand, and that embarrassing moment happens and somebody's standing by to record it.
Right.
And then you're reminded of it, and it's shared and it's tweeted and somebody else is talking about it, and it doesn't go away.
Right.
And I think these kids are being tortured by this.
Yeah.
So I don't like the fact, I'm actually kind of surprised. I'm really surprised that these kids are allowed to even have phones in school. Now, I understand at the high school level, they're using them for learning purposes, but in middle school, why are they allowed to have their phones with them? Like, leave it in your locker. I don't get it.
I think that there is a change, and I think some schools don't allow it during the day. They can take it, they can either leave it in their locker or there's a special place to put it. But there is a bit of a change. And, today we really want to talk about someone who has her pulse on this because she's in the middle school every day. God bless her. I would not want to be a teacher right now, but we have Michelle Jones, and she is a middle school teacher. Hi, Michelle.
Hi, Michelle.
Hi.
Thank you so much for being with us today. I know that you probably know more than your fair share about the crazy that goes on in middle school, but let's just kind of do an overview. What are you seeing that is happening right now as it pertains to some of the stuff Laura and I were just talking about?
Well, with the kids, when we have dances after school, a lot of the kids want to have their phones out so they can video while kids are dancing, and then they're posting it right away. So even as a teacher, if you want to let loose a little bit, somebody somewhere is recording something, and it could be more embarrassing than anything. In the past, we had our students be able to use their cell phones for class assignments and different things. Now this year it is different in our district. The kids have laptops, so we don't see any of their phones out in the middle school because they're using their laptops for work. But you do see them grab their phones at the end of the day at the locker area, and their faces are in the phones, and that's all that you see is they're walking down the hall looking down, and then they're looking up and they're running into each other because they have to see what's going on that they missed during the day. If all their friends are in school, I'm not sure what they're missing.
That's what I was just thinking.
And that's terrible too, because when I was in school and kids would pull pranks on each other, they would pull pranks and you're embarrassed for that moment. But now, if they're pulling pranks on each other and they have their phones and they're taping these embarrassing moments, that's horrible. Yeah, it's horrible. And I'm sure it's affecting these kids, their self-esteem. Do you find that some of them don't even want to come to school, that they're embarrassed about a situation? Do you get calls from parents about things like that?
I haven't had anything because I'm in sixth grade, but I know as the years escalate, seventh grade especially is kind of brutal. Sorry, Carrie.
Thanks.
It's tough for the kids. It really is tough, and it's not just a thing that's impacting girls. You know, the boys are also impacted with everyone in their social media and posting things right away. You know, for example, when they have the little Bitmoji character on Instagram, and they're all at so-and-so's house for a gathering on a Friday night. And then there's a student who's not invited. They can see the location of all those kids gravitated at one location. And it's hard. I mean, I've seen it, you know, with my own kids. I have a sophomore in college and a junior in high school, but it's hard when they're at home and they see what everyone else is doing and they're not doing. It's that constant fear of missing out on something, or they have to have the most exciting life, or they have to be in the mix and know everything that's going on with everyone. It's really hard.
It is hard. And, you know, it's not just social media. It's not just the smartphone. What's it like with communication with these kids these days? Do they know how to communicate?
They don't. Honestly, I have one day where I pull out reading comprehension board games for the pure aspect of they need to sit and learn communication skills. They don't know how to have a conversation. The tone, the way they talk with each other, it's very different than it was 10 years ago, because now their faces are in their phones and everything is a text. And they don't know how to communicate. They don't know how to even advocate for themselves because everything is typed and digital. It's really difficult to get them to learn to talk to each other and not at each other. We've had several stop mini lesson type of things just with communication this year because they talk at each other and they're not really waiting to be heard by the other person. They don't know how to do that give and take of a conversation.
What is that? And how do we get through that and explain to them that talk to each other, communicate with each other? Right. Because I think, and I have this little phrase for it, I think things get lost in what I call textlation. Mm-hmm. Like you have this misunderstanding.
That brilliant word.
I know. I made it up all by myself.
That's pretty good.
Things get lost in textlation.
Textlation. Oh, smart, Flora.
I mean, how do you get through to these kids and tell them, knock it off, just talk?
It's really hard. Like I said, I'm going to pull out reading board games and try to get them to work on their communication skills with each other because we're fighting a losing battle because everything is on their phones. Everything. It's really hard, but they've got to learn to communicate with people.
We're talking about things that are difficult, they're emotionally driven and all of that, but we like to leave our podcasts on a good note in some way. Listen, I'm not lying. I'm kind of struggling in my head going, oh my gosh, what do you do? But the thing is, you're around our kids more than we are. So as a teacher, and you see the stuff, you see the body language of the kids walking in and out of the room.
Sorry for that, by the way. Sorry that you're with our kids longer than we are.
Smell.
Sorry.
And the smell. But you see the body language, you read the signals that we're not going to see. So for the parents who are listening to this and they need someone who's got an insider perspective on maybe how to handle things, and you're a mom, what's your advice that you can give?
I would say make sure that as an adult, you put your phone down and you actually have the conversation as much as you can with your own kids, because I think that's part of the spiraling downward with some things is we are so dependent on our own phones and devices that sometimes we're missing really good opportunities to interact with our kids at just a random time when they're at home. I think just talking with them about how was your day, what's going on, what's new, ask them to share things from their social media with you, but continually talk to them because they're going to have situations where they're going to need help navigating how to manage them, not just middle school, but like anything, just life in general. And the more that we can stay connected with the kids to just even, how are you? Or just a follow-up with a personal comment. That's what we do in school with something that you knew your student was looking forward to. It might have been basketball tryouts, and the basketball tryout didn't go well. And you can tell by the child's face when they walk in that maybe they didn't make the travel team, or maybe they didn't make the A team or the whatever team they were trying out for, or their soccer team lost the big tournament over the weekend, and you can see it all over their faces. Take the time to listen. That is probably the biggest thing. And follow what they're doing on social media. Ask them to share things with you. Ask them to keep you in the loop, because you need to be able to model or at least to give advice. And I think it's important for them to know that, we were raised in a time where it's not the world anymore. We can't raise our kids the way that our parents raised us necessarily, because it's completely different. It is completely different, and things change at a moment's notice.
I think she brings up a lot of valid points, and I mean, I was really strict. At dinner time, give me your phone. I put the phone in the other room. When my son went to bed, I never allowed him to take his phone to bed with him. He had to leave the phone downstairs on the charger, and I knew it was there, and I put my phone away too at dinner time. So we did have that open dialogue, and we were able to communicate. Just put it away. Just set it aside.
Yeah. I think I've been guilty of having my phone in my hand, but I'm not in the social media mode as much as I am looking at a work email or looking at those types of things and checking the calendar. And still, my face is in the phone, and I'm just as guilty. So I've listened to my kids, because they've called me out a time or two or three or four or five, because...
And I've heard it.
It's true. Even my dog, Roxy, looks at me in disgust and barks in my face.
Says, "Mommy, put the phone down."
So, I think that moving forward, we need to simplify things sometimes and rein it in a bit and show our kids that kind of going back to a simple way of life, even if it's just right after school for a couple of hours, they need to decompress. We need to decompress. And maybe middle school, oh, bless it, maybe it won't be so horrendous.
I hope this doesn't bleed into elementary school. That's the only thing. I hope it doesn't.
I don't even want to go. That's another podcast.
Yeah, let's not talk about that.
Whew. Your turn.
Okay. Hey, thanks so much for watching, for tuning in. We are all over social media. We are Chick to Chick USA. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. We're all over the place.
And if you can't find us there, you can always subscribe to our YouTube channel, Chick to Chick. And what's great about that is once you subscribe, Monday mornings, we're going to let you know that there's a new podcast for you to watch. So you know what? Until then, thanks so much for listening to us chirp. We'll be back for another topic.